We thought that might be an appropriate start for this session. And I did mention before that of my love of literature. We're going to start with some. We invested in goods to sell in this trade city of Jericho, and I walked the long journey with my loaded donkey. I stopped that last night at an inn, poised on the edge of Jericho's wilderness valley. The neighbours at my table did not look promising. Holy men who carried scrolls, not knives. Shabby companions on this last stretch where you need someone who will stand firm beside you. Someone good for a fight. The next morning I left the inn alone, the dawn just crowning, leaving the door open in my haste, and the innkeeper slammed it as she hissed after me, "On your barn, were you?" In half darkness I led my donkey down the steep road. It was mid-morning when it happened. I heard them before I saw them. The 6 bandits clattering down the rocks. Enough time for me to assess the situation as grim. To muster my courage and grab my knife. "Tell us what you have," they yelled, which only made me smile, picturing my sons and me telling them, "Well, I asked for your inheritance, so I gave it to them." So I fought, but the odds were against me. They broke my arms and beat me and took everything, even my clothes, and left me on the side of the road, listening to the sound of our savings being led away. I drifted in and out as the pain overpowered me, but I knew that help was on its way. Those holy men were on the road behind me, an hour or two at most, and I would be saved. I woke to see that priest walking away. My voice also deserted me, too dry to call for help. The vultures arrived at the same time as the Levite, and I watched them trace lazy circles in the cloudless blue as he circled wide around me. The blood and the flies were too unclean for his hands, no doubt. I lay baking in the hot sun, waiting for death. A man on a donkey appeared on the road from Jericho. A foreigner, he greeted me with these words, "Friend, I'll help you." He put down his donkey, no mean feat with my broken arms, and took me to the inn that I'd left that morning. The innkeeper shook her head as she looked from my wounds to my face. Ah, the man born in the barn. They tended to me day and night, and now weeks later I still sit here mending on the Samaritan's tab. Last night the holy men, the priest and the Levite, were neighbours at my table as they took their homeward journey. They would not meet my eye, which is not surprising. I do not know if they noticed that I could not meet theirs. I have no bitterness at what they did not do. Instead, my mind is haunted by what might have been. Had they set out first, and I came upon one of them, broken and bleeding, would I have unloaded my donkey, left my fortune by the road, and carried them to safety? Or would I have minded my own business? I received mercy, but would I have given it? Each day I am forever on that wilderness road. And it's by Henry Wilson, one of our own. He's appropriated from a very good source and made the story come alive. It's a story that's extremely well known, perhaps even by those whose knowledge of the stories of Jesus are rather scanty. It's a good story because it causes us to become imitated by those who should have known better, and it leads us to say what we know is right. And so again, the story has to go into context. And without context, we easily miss the point. And we can easily misunderstand what Jesus is teaching his followers in all ages. It was an academic, or one who knew the law of Moses intimately. He knew it all. Chapter and verse, can and could quote it to anyone. He could have been a scribe who was an expert in the Torah, always able to expound every word. And the record says in verse 25 that this smart aleck professor of theology asked a loaded question to put Jesus to the test. What was the test? What shall I do to inherit eternal life? Now Jesus knew it was a loaded question, so he did what you always did, or often did, and he answered the question with a question, which can be very irritating for people. He turned it back on the legal by asking the obvious question. Well, what does the law of Moses, your well-thumbed and memorised textbook, say? You read it every day, you know every word, that's your job. You should know the answer, so what does it say in answer to the question you've asked me? Well, his answer was good, parrot fashion, just like being a Sunday school instructor. You know, question 85, what shall I do to inherit eternal life? Not the answer we learned in the car on the way to Sunday school. We all did that. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, strength and mind. And love your neighbour as yourself. It was a good answer. It came out of the Shema, which was included in prayer every day. And the Shema said, as from Deuteronomy 6, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our Lord, the Lord is one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your strength. It was the daily prayer. They knew it all. Well, they knew it about God. Love your neighbour as yourself. A bit of lip service, maybe. And Jesus turns and gives the cutting reply. Do this and you will live. Well, our expert already knew the answer to the question. He knew that was the answer he was going to get. Do this and you will live. His problem was application. The knowledge of the law was academic. This man was a professional Bible student. He was proud of it. He knew his stuff. He could debate, he could recite, he could sharpen the arguments, he could pontificate on any ethical problem you threw at him. He was a man with all the answers. He was a bit like a little old lady who thoroughly enjoyed the sermon, and at the end of the service she She shook the minister's hand and said, "That was a wonderful sermon. Everything you said applies to someone I know." "You know the answers," said Jesus. "You know the answers. Now put them into practice." Well, not to be beaten. Our lawyer comes back with, "And who is my neighbour?" As if he didn't know. Jesus had given his illustration, but he's uncomfortable with all that. Jesus didn't have to point a finger or make a suggestion. The story said all. A certain man went down a busy, dangerous, treacherous road to Jericho. He was just some bloke, a nobody, you and me. He was attacked and robbed and beaten up. There were no CCTV cameras, so they got away without being apprehended. There wasn't a drunken brawl outside a King's Cross bar or strip club, or whether the equipment is Adelaide, I don't know well enough. This was just an ordinary man doing ordinary stuff, although in a dangerous place. He really should have taken the journey company. But he didn't, because Jesus had a story to tell. The priest and the Levite may have helped if the man had been one of them, or if they knew him, but they didn't know. He was an inconvenience on a busy day. Both were travelling from Jerusalem down to Jericho. They had fulfilled their priestly duties and they were heading home. They had done their work for God, they ticked it off, they signed the dotted line, and they weren't going to do any overtime, thank you very much. Just, I want to get home, put my feet up and read the paper. Their faith in their duty did not make demands on their lives. Let's just get home. But the Samaritan. The Samaritan, that great figure of history. When the Samaritan saw him, he had pity and had compassion on him. Just one simple sentence said it all. The man's fellow Jewish men ignored him. This was a Samaritan. This is the parable of the Good Samaritan. Well, the audience hearing the story would not put the words good and Samaritan together. That's called an oxymoron, English lesson. They were opposites, like honest thief, faithful adulterer. You don't put the two together. Jesus' Jewish audience would not like this story at all. It's about someone they didn't like. And you want to make him good? They would have expected that the next sentence in the story really should have been that the nasty, hated Samaritan would finish the guy off once and for all. That's what they thought would happen. He was a Samaritan. At least the priest and the Levite didn't do that. That's ignored. The hatred between Jew and Samaritan had gone on for hundreds of years. Why should it be a good one? The story said that the Samaritan was compelled to act. Compelled. He was deeply moved from within. That's the idea that the Greeks suggest, evidently. It was impossible to pass by without helping. You couldn't do it. That's the way true compassion works. Compassion keeps us awake at night until we do something. The Samaritan was moved to touch the wounded man and put him on his own donkey, so the Samaritan would now have to walk off to the closest inn or hotel or motel. A simple practical application. But he did more than that. And like most stories, there's always the twist at the end. It wasn't just taking him to the inn. That's the next bit. He went the extra mile. He saw to it that the innkeeper would look out for the recovery of the victim, and the Samaritan himself would foot the bill. He was financially inconvenienced, and his time had already been intruded upon him. Compassion cost him something. Involvement eats into our time and our finances and our plans. Shakespeare, quote literature, Shakespeare put it this way: "'Tis not enough to help the feeble up, but to support him after." Not enough to help the feeble up, but to support him after. Well, that's not a comfortable story for the proud Jews who have heard it. And I wonder if it's a good story for us, finally. But it's a nice story. But it's not the story, it's the postscript with Jesus that matters. The story could have ended with the feel-good sentence. But that's never the way it is. The feel-good sentence about going back and looking after the wounded man and paying for it. It's verse 36. Which of these three, says Jesus, do you think was a neighbour to the man who fell into the hands of robbers? Obvious answer. Jesus smiles as he says it, I think. It was an obvious answer. The lawyer knew exactly what to say. The one who had mercy on him. Obviously. It's not rocket science, Lord. It's not rocket science. But did you notice the way he phrased the answer? The one who had mercy on him. He couldn't bring himself to say, the Samaritan. Samaritan. And then the coup de grace from Jesus, the hit below the belt, the twist of the knife where he says, then to verse 37, go and do likewise. That's the point. That's twice. That's the second time he said that. Verse 28, do this and you shall live. And now in verse 37, the very end of the story, go and do likewise. So what's that telling us? Well, I think there's a number of things. First of all, it's telling us that our love for God has to take priority over absolutely change my mind to my wife. God obviously deserves all of our love and not only part of our love. According to Jesus, love can only be manifested when we love God first. And loving God consequentially produces love for others in us. It's a consequence. True love is not just a feeling or an emotion to be frightened of. It's a decision to sacrifice and give to another. We choose to love, or we choose not to love. Many people love themselves, but that's not love, it's selfishness. The second thing I think is we can only love our neighbour when we love God. It's love that makes it possible for us to give up our comforts and joys to obey Him. Our deeds bring on a new meaning when they spring from the deep love of God. Oswald Chambers understood this when he wrote, if I work for God because I know it brings me the good opinion of those whose good opinion I wish to have, then I am a Pharisee. If I love Jesus Christ, I will serve humanity, though men and women may treat me like a doormat. If we really love God, we'll love even the unlovable. We mightn't like that. The Christian doesn't only love the people of God, he loves all people. He or she is warm and sensitive to God's people, of course, but also love those who don't know God. The third thing I think is if we love God, we would keep His commandments. How obvious is that? Just as a child who would love his parents would also obey them, so we'll obey God if we love Him. Love and obedience are inseparable, but we often face the problem that the Pharisees faced as well. They became so good at obeying the law that they added their own laws to it. I did mention last night about Hillel and all the extra laws, explanations. And Jesus came at the end of Hilel's life to say, that's not the way to go. They obeyed God instead of loving Him. They had substituted a legalistic approach to God instead of loving Him with their heart and their soul and their mind. They studied the Word of God just to figure out, at least, what they had to do to be accepted by God. It's like finding out what little good one can do and still get into the kingdom, who think that that's the way to do it. which we shouldn't. The Pharisees knew how many ounces you could carry before it was considered carrying a burden on the Sabbath. They had worked out the ounce. Kilogram. Smaller than that. They also knew how many steps you could take before your walking could be considered as working. They needed these rules to determine just how much good they had to do to make it with God. True love makes no attempt to calculate how much or how little one needs to do for another person. Love always wants to give more. Love always wants to do more. Love does not give to get. Love happily sacrifices to serve. And there's a whole list of biblical verses that talk about this. Proverbs 14. Oh, jump to that. Okay. Proverbs 14 says, the poor are shunned even by their neighbours, but the rich have many friends. It's a sin to despise one's neighbour, but blessed is the one who is kind to the needy. In Romans, let no debt remain outstanding except the continuing debt to love one another, for whoever loves others has fulfilled the law. The commandments, you shall not commit adultery, you shall not murder, you shall not steal, you shall not covet. And whatever other commandment there may be, says Paul, are summed up in this one commandment, to love your neighbour as yourself. Love does no harm to a neighbour, therefore love is a fulfilment of the law. And to the Galatians he said, you, my brothers and sisters, are called to be free. Don't use your freedom to indulge the flesh, serve one another humbly in love. For the entire law is fulfilled in keeping this one commandment. Love your neighbour as yourself. And if you bite and devour each other, watch out, or you'll be destroyed by each other. And so I say, walk by the Spirit and will not gratify the desires of the flesh. I'm going to read you a little story, a children's story, written by a Jewish lady in 1956, and the original story was called Flat for Rent. And it remains popular today. It's been used by a whole lot of different publishing companies and different names. This lady immigrated to Israel in 1935 before it became a nation. And she taught comparative literature at the premier Hebrew University in Jerusalem. And she published poetry and novels and plays, and she wrote about 20 children's books and received prizes for her works. This is a story in English, and it's been called the ABC Word Book. I won't read the whole thing because I've been told 45 minutes. But notice the types of people in the story, and you'll recognise them. Someone's up on the screen. So here goes. In a beautiful valley beneath a blue sky, there stands a tower, 5 stories high. And who lives in the tower? A hen so fat she can hardly walk, who likes to lie in bed and talk, lives on the first floor. A cuckoo bird who daily roams to visit in her children's homes lives on the second floor. And up above, a ribbon cat who's lean and black and likes to chat lives on the third floor. A squirrel who gathers nuts to store, then cracks them all against the door, lives on the 4th floor. And on the 5th floor lives Mr. Mouse, but he's packed up and left the house. He's been gone a week or so. Why did he leave? Where did he go? They don't know. The neighbours then, from every floor, put up a sign upon the door, and they put it up the day he went. The sign said simply, room for rent. And lickety split, the people zoomed from everywhere to see the room. First came an ant to the upper floor. She read the sign there on the door. She opened the door and looked around, up to the ceiling, down to the ground. The neighbours came from their rooms, meanwhile, to stand around her and smile and smile. Does the room look nice? Does the bed look nice? Nice. Does the hallway look nice? Nice. Well then stay with us, Mrs. Ant. No, I won't stay. Why not? The ant replied, I don't like the neighbours. I'm an ant. Live with a lazy hen, I can't come. She only likes to lie and talk. She's so fat she can hardly walk. The hen was insulted and walked away, and the ant didn't stay. Next came a rabbit, hippity-hop. With a couple of steps, she reached the top. She read the sign hung on the door of the empty room on the topmost floor. She opened the door and looked around, up to the ceiling, down to the ground. The neighbours came from their rooms meanwhile to stand around her and smile and smile. Does the room look nice? Nice. Does the bed look nice? Nice. Does the hallway look nice? Nice. Well then stay with us, Mrs. Rabbit. No, I won't stay. Why not? The rabbit replied, I don't like the neighbours. The cuckoo's habit just can't be borne by Mother Rabbit. She abandons her children, they can't return. What a terrible thing for my bunnies to learn. The bird was insulted and flew away, and the rabbit didn't stay. After the rabbit there came a pig, he was round and smooth and fairly big. He was so roly-poly he climbed rather slowly. With his tiny eyes he looked around, up to the ceiling and down to the ground. The neighbours came from their rooms meanwhile to stand around him and smile and smile. Does the room look nice? Nice. Does the bed look nice? Nice. Does the hallway look nice? Nice. Well then stay with us, Mr. Pig. No, I won't stay. Why not? The pig replied, I don't like the neighbours. I'm white and fat. How can I live with a thin black cat? I come from a family that's fat and white. This wouldn't be proper. It would not be right. The neighbours agreed and said, Pig, go away. We certainly wouldn't want you to stay. You think it would not be the right thing to do, and we're just as sure that we don't want you. The next to arrive was a nightingale. He sang a sweet song as he flipped his tail, and he flew into the room for it and looked around, up to the ceiling and down to the ground. Very good nightingale. I like it. The neighbours came to their rooms meanwhile to stand around him and smile and smile. Does the room look nice? Nice. Does the bed look nice? Nice. Does the hallway look nice? Nice. Then stay with us, Mr. Nightingale. No, I won't. Why not? The nightingale replied, I don't like the neighbours. On the fourth floor, a squirrel cracked nuts against the door. Nut after nut, he'll bang it and crack it, and we no end to this terrible racket. My ears aren't accustomed to sounds like these. They're tuned to beautiful melodies. The squirrel was insulted and scurried away, and the nightingale didn't stay. When the nightingale left, along came a dove. Lightly she hopped to the floor above. Opened the door and looked all around, up to the ceiling and down to the ground. The neighbours all gathered as they had been, but their smiles were growing a trifle thin. Does the room look nice? It's rather small. Does the bed look nice? Oh, it's not big at all. Does the hallway look nice? It's not very bright. There's not enough light. So like the others, you won't stay? I will. I'm moving right away. The room's just fine for sleep and such, but I like the neighbours very much. The hen has such a pretty comb, I'm sure we'll feel right at home. The cuckoo's also very pretty, and I love to sleep like Kitty. Cracking nuts won't bother me, oh so happy we will be. We'll be good friends, I know it. Yes, we'll live in peace and happiness. In a beautiful valley then, beneath a blue sky. There stands a tower 5 stories high, and to this very day good neighbours dwell, contented and happy, peaceful and well. No people like that?
That's nice.
Do you recognise yourself as one of those characters? What don't we like about people? I think there's 5 questions we need to think about. And we'll think of all the references from Diocese and runs together. We'll see what we come up with. How well? Number 1. Question 1 is how well? I'm going to read that first. No, that's the one, that's right, that's the right one. So the neighbour is the one who does good, right? The priest, the Levite, turn out not with the neighbour, they disneighbour themselves. That's great. I know you have to love the people nice too. Isn't that a pretty small neighbourhood? Neighbours can be those who live or work near us, at least in the first sentence. In Adelaide, I think you've got to be more common neighbours in ecclesia because you live closer together. In Sydney, where it's very hard. But let's think about the common neighbours. There's close neighbours, there's distant neighbours. Maybe we don't want to know our neighbours for whole reasons. But I wonder if we will fly on the other side, wherever that neighbour happens to be. Or are we like the legalistic sheep? Would we perhaps have the bystander effect, just watch over there? It says he really doesn't need help. He'll be okay. I'm sure someone else will handle it. Guess it's true. Isn't that a common response? What gets in our way of knowing neighbours, whatever the definition of neighbours is? Whether it's near us or far, or people who live and breathe Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or emails or mobile phones. Young people and those old computer-savvy folk are able to get in touch in a way we used to do by phone and letters many years ago. Emotions are out there for everybody to see. And maybe everything's out there for us to help. And we've all seen people glued to their iPhones while driving. Glued to their iPhones while crossing the road. You've got to weave around them. And they can't see the world in front of them because they're glued to the phone. Something been happening, something in trouble, they wouldn't see it. And maybe we're not going to be as callous as that. Perhaps we're just too busy doing what we have to do. Life isn't like it used to be. We've got to make the effort without instant disapproval. Remember that the story of the Good Samaritan is about individual responses to all those in need. Can you read along? Yes? Right, I'd like to read out for you. It's individual responses that this story is talking about. It's not group responses. It's not talking about what we do as ecclesias. It's talking about what we do one-on-one. Individual responses to those in need. It's too easy to say, if it's a group, oh, well, we're too small to do all that sort of stuff, and we are, in some ways. It's not about groups, it's about one-on-one, what we personally do. Then there's the qualities of a good neighbour. We have to think about that. At the start of the story, the question was, who is my neighbour? At the end of the story, the question is, what kind of neighbour am I? Change. Well, we say we've got faith in Jesus Christ, we claim to be Christians, we're followers of Jesus Christ. Well, what are we doing? It's like throwing a pebble into a pond. You can throw it in, you can't throw it in rather without creating some sort of ripple system. And if there are no ripples, then maybe we didn't throw the pebble in the first place, maybe we thought we did. And Charles Schultz might put it in that very jaundiced way. But we've got to be careful, we don't turn out like that. Julie came up with a list of attributes of a good neighbour some time ago, and that's the list, which is a pretty good list. That pretty is how we would treat people, I think. Friendliness, kindness, consideration, helpful, interested in the family, able to judge help each other's problems. We're not judgmental, but we are certainly thoughtful. That little list perhaps might be the attributes of a good neighbour today. But coming back to what are neighbours? Well, yes, they can be next door, they can be people at work, they can whatever. We've got neighbours here. In this group, we've got neighbours. We've got neighbours in other meetings, neighbours across across the nation, across the world. Do we approve of them all? Are we reticent to talk to them? Are we superior to them? Are they not in our wavelength? Do they got a different barometer to judging things do we have? Everyone gives their own answers. James says, there is only one lawgiver and judge, the one who is able to save and destroy. You, who are you to judge your neighbour? What about the ones who sit next to us to the medium beside the husbands and wives? What about the rows in front and behind and around, upstairs, downstairs, other places, richer, poorer, older, younger? All our neighbours. It should go without saying that love for those in our own community, in what we call the household of faith, nice little cliche, that's a priority. Of course it has to be. In our youth group in the early 70s, we in Sydney were simply amazed in Adelaide you could exist in an ecclesia of 550 people. We were stunned. How did you get to know all those people? Especially when there's 150 old people over 70. Big numbers. But that's community. And that's neighbours. And no wonder 550 members of 1975 knew all the other 550 people. I would not have liked to have been the role marker on those Sundays. Think back to our good book. We can always find excuses why we don't like the neighbours in the block. Are we prepared to put aside our prejudices, our dislikes and our disagreements to make good neighbours? Sometimes neighbours practice avoidance, and we would never do that. The proverb says, it's a sin to despise one's neighbour, but blessed is the one who is kind to the needy. And like the ABC children's story, there's lots of things we don't like, and they're often contradictory. I came up with a little list of things I've heard people say. This is in Sydney, it's not Adelaide things, so I wouldn't know what to say for Adelaide. But these are the things I've heard in Sydney. This has been their ecclesial circles, and particularly hers. For one person to say, I don't like loud music over the sound system. Another says, I don't like dirty things in the organ. I don't like people. I don't like models. I don't like informality. I don't like formality. I don't like sitting in rows. I don't like the table on platform. I don't like the words on the screen for the hymns. I don't like cold hall on cold days. I don't like the hot hall on hot days. I don't like hearing mobile phones go off. I don't agree with some of the talks. I don't want women to speak. I don't want women to be silent. I don't want sisters to be second-class citizens. I don't want sisters to be expounding the word. I don't like change in the meeting format. I don't like the particular method of meetings. I don't like the variations in the service. I don't like the friendliness of the announcements. I don't like the taste of the wine. And I don't like unleavened bread. Go figure. In terms of the children's story, what matters is, I like the neighbours. Despite all that. Despite all those, I don't like the neighbours. I still like the neighbours. We ought to all like the neighbours. We ought to love the neighbours, despite. And now this there can go on and on and on and on, and you've got your own list for Adelaide. We can all add dozens of statements to the list. And perhaps love for neighbour in the ecclesial world needs to transcend any personal preferences. We must all live as one, displaying the character of Jesus. We are a diverse neighbourhood and becoming more and more diverse as years go on. Full of people from all walks of life and various cultural backgrounds. We've all been commanded by God to love each other. And if we do not love our brothers and our sisters, we cannot love God. John says, this is how we know what love is. Jesus laid down his life for us. And we ought to lay down our life for our brothers and our sisters. And if anyone has material possessions and sees a brother or sister in need, but has no pity on them, how can the love of God be in that person? Dear children, let's not love with words or speech, but with actions and in truth.